mute YouTube, and I'll get Facebook sorted out.
A few seconds before it goes live. Don't forget, it's got to wait on the countdown finishing.
Aye.
There it goes. Yeah, right, there you go. Done.
YouTube, and I'll get Facebook sorted. Right, we're public in Facebook. So, good afternoon, David.
Good afternoon, David.
How's the foot?
It's okay.
Thanks to Dexter for the super chat.
It's a wee bit of a comedy at the moment. I think I'm going to join Iron Man. Get the rest of the kit.
Right, what do you call it? And that's folks, let you know that, and thank you very much again for your kind donations. That's another £200 at the door to the wee mobile food bank and the Central Belt here, who were cut onto us because they were running into supply shortages.
Yeah.
So it's quite good that people are now finding out about us and can come in and make inquiries. And it's awfully generous of you guys to continue to contribute. And we'll get some of the Facebook folks in, so let's go and have a wee look and see who's in. We'll get Wee Bud, James Connolly, Rebecca McDougall, Mark Telfer, Mark Leslie, Wolfpet, Gerard Sherry, Alistair Kilpatrick, Dexter, of course, is in. We'll get David. Hi, David. Thanks very much. As you can see, the blues out my beard now, David. Let's have a look. What we've got in through Facebook. We've got Lorraine Hay in. These are still YouTube. First one through the door on Facebook was Mark Riddle, followed by Jane Loveland. Hi, Jane. Look forward to seeing you at the weekend. Hi, Melanie. Hi, Elizabeth. How's Duisburg today? And Kirsty. How we doing? We're nearly at the 100 mark, David.
Yeah, well, just give the guys a wee bit update. The to Davies account, after paying that the wee food bank, I'm calling it, right? We've got £117.25 in the account as we speak. Now, I know for a fact that Google are about to do a payment to us.
Yeah.
I think. Right, hang on, I'll just have a look.
There's
already in. Hang on, let's have a look. The 25th of October they paid. It wasn't much. It was 167.07 was what they paid. But anyway, that's fine. That's okay. Because don't forget, that was including the wee food bank. That was like £800. In the food banks, just over the course of the last 7-10 days or whatever. You know, that's brilliant.
Every time it hits the 200 mark, we'll get it out the door to somebody.
Yeah, what we're doing is, as I've said before, we're not going to do any of the Trussell Trust or Sally Army or things like that are well supported. We're looking for the wee sort of independent food banks, and those are the ones that we'll support, if you don't mind, right? And that means these are the ones that get forgotten, they get left by the wayside, right? So, and that's the way we're going to continue. Sometimes it's hard to find them. I couldn't find one in Paisley, not one. So I'm going to have to look at the churches in Paisley, see if anybody's running a food bank from a church. Okay. Anyway, right, how are we doing?
No bad, we're up there at 100 marks, so let's get going. We've got a lot to get through as usual, folks. And we're starting off with anger over the leading WhatsApp message says press.
Yes. Yep. Down the road in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers, as you put it, David.
Yep.
They've been using WhatsApp pretty extensively. And Rishi Sunak is looking a bit grey under the gills, thinking that they're going to end up taking his WhatsApp messages off him, and they can get it directly if they do the right action through the court.
Yep. Yeah. Section 22, you're right.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's like, this can be done. I know WhatsApp. The idea is that it's got a special algorithm that's really difficult to read or decode, but to be honest with you, WhatsApp, if WhatsApp want to get a hold of your messages, they can.
Of course.
Yeah, so.
No, but the press are claiming that Miss Sturgeon promised to release these WhatsApp messages. Now, if I remember right, when she was First Minister, she was asked about this, and what she said was, we aren't conducting government business on WhatsApp, because at that time it come to light that they were conducting government business on WhatsApp down that road.
Yeah.
And what the First Minister said when she was asked about this was, when she was First Minister, of course, said that we're not conducting official COVID business in WhatsApp. We are going through the official channels.
Yeah.
So the WhatsApp messages that they have won't really be relevant, because all the info, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to turn them out if asked for. I mean, remember the use of, they accused him of deleting his and on. He said, I've not deleted nothing. You can have them if they want.
I mean, the chap that's actually doing the case for this is our Anwar. You'll see he's got a program on TV now, which is rather entertaining. But he's the one that's chasing the Scottish Government for any WhatsApp messages. And to be honest with you, yeah, I hope that he gets the Section 22 through, which forces anybody, they've got to hand it over. And if it turns up that they have been covering up WhatsApp messages or using WhatsApp, yeah, they will be dealt with rather harshly by the law. As a politician, they can be sent to prison for 51 weeks.
Aye, and a Scottish politician wouldn't get sent to prison for 51 weeks. You see the shower of sugar down that road.
Yeah.
You know, but you see, I don't have any problems with it. If there's stuff in WhatsApp that shouldn't, the query thinks will help, go on the mail.
What I'd like to see is, if they're going to do that, let's be balanced and fair. Let's have the WhatsApp messages of Labour. Let's have the WhatsApp messages of Tories. Let's have the WhatsApp messages of the Lib Dems. Let's have the WhatsApp messages from all of the independent MPs and MSPs and all the rest of it. Let's get the whole thing open, wide open book, because that's the way politics should be. Shouldn't be any hidden stuff. It should be open, straightforward.
Yes. No argument for me.
Yep.
No argument for me. But as I say, I mean, the press are claiming that Miss Sturgeon promised to release her WhatsApp messages. That's not what Miss Sturgeon said at all. Miss Sturgeon, when asked about this, said, we don't conduct government business on WhatsApp.
But this is the name of the game. It's just by asking a question, they get to make somebody look bad. Yeah?
Aye, they're going to have to Professor Leach and all.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, it's like, see the press, see we get independence, I think we're going to have a root and branch change of who operates in Scotland. Yeah?
Aye.
Right. Okay.
Right, okay, so the next subject up is that the Scottish Government's to release its blueprint for immigration in Scotland after independence. Now, the basis of the system will be demographic need and economic need, which is the right way to do it.
It's the way that most of the big nations work. If we need welders, say, right, in a particular area, we go, right, if you're prepared to actually move into this area where you can actually go for a job as a welder, then fine, we'll let you in the door. That's it, simple as that, right? On top of that, David, obviously, you've got the refugee situation where that's a different matter entirely.
Yes, it is. It's a different part of immigration altogether. And there's international obligations under the rights to seek asylum.
Yep.
But now, as we know, it's Scottish Government SNP and Green policy to rejoin the EU. So initially, we'll need to get into the single market through, is it EFTA?
Yeah.
European Free Trade Association. So once we join EFTA, we'll be opening ourselves up to the four pillars of the EU anyway. So freedom of movement will start back up again.
Be careful. You know this thing about we talk about getting open the door for refugees, right? It doesn't suit everybody, right? I remember working on the Welsh Parliament building before it opened up, right? And it's like I'd go in there every day, and there was a wee security guard there. I forget where he was from, but he sat and shivered, and I ended up taking the car round to Blooming Marks Dispensers to get him the thermals. I bought him a set of thermals. It was 20 quid. That's all it was, right? So the wee guy wasn't able to sit. It looked really awful. He sat in the main, the set, but everything was open. No, the glass wasn't there, so he was getting all the wind coming in off the water, right? And so it doesn't suit everybody. Living in Scotland doesn't suit everybody. They can get used to it, but some people, if I find
we know about people when they've been granted asylum, right? I mean, it re-establishes their and they re-establishes their identity, gives them a nationality. But that doesn't mean they're going to stay here.
That's right.
They might find 5 or 6 years down the line it doesn't suit them.
They are free to go where they want, as far as I'm concerned. Once we open the door, we'll let them in. That's it. They're no longer a refugee.
See, though, decorating the house before you get the keys, no. It's putting in front of the Scottish people a perspective that you can vote for. But if you cover all these areas before you put...
What is that supposed to mean? Does that mean we cannot discuss stuff? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that releasing these documents and decorating the house before...
No,
you need to have prospectus in place and have all these things in place.
Yeah, to be honest with you, the best thing you can possibly do in a situation is plan, because that means that when you get there and somebody says, "Oh, did you remember?" So, "Oh yeah, we've got it right there. It is there, right?" So it's the 7 P's: proper planning and preparation prevents poor performance.
Right.
There you go. All right.
Good afternoon, Daily Blasey. And Doc, when do we vote? Well, the next one's a general election. We'll see how they deny the democracy then. But to be honest with you, we'll move on to the next subject, David, because this really covers this one, actually. When do we vote? And I see Ash Reagan's committed political suicide by joining the Alpha Party.
Harry Carey. Yeah, exactly. I'm a great believer in that. In a major election, like a general election or the Scottish election, people don't tend to vote for an individual. Thanks, Druthers. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
They don't tend to vote for an individual. They vote for a party.
Correct. That's why people still haven't worked out his political suicide.
Yeah. So what happens is, it's like Labour. We've talked about them. They built a house of cards because those areas that they've won the MPs out of, right? Those people will return back to form, or they'll return back to what they were. Certainly in the 2 English ones, right? And so Ash Reagan, I can see that when.
Obviously, David, you get right doing it. She's obviously tired of a public life.
Oh, I tell you what. When the results came in for the leadership election for the SNP, and it's like she was third with actually a very, very small vote, you want to see her face was scowling, So at the end of the day, it's like, whatever the lassie wants to do, but she's going to have to realise that being part of a very, very small second-rate party at the moment, which they are, Alba will welcome her with open arms, but she'll end up getting voted out.
You see what happens? Chris McElhenney, he thought, I joined the Alpha Party, the people will vote for me. No. Yeah. Same with Pat.
Thanks very much, Dylan.
Hey, Dylan. Hey, hi, David. I know your birthday is on the same day as yours. Oh, good stuff. I'll give you a wee message on Saturday, say happy birthday, Sunday, say happy birthday, son. And you've got a wee present to say thanks for a t-shirt. You didn't have to do that, Dylan. But thanks very much for the super chat, lad. But as I say, I mean, if you take Pat Lee, I tried to help to get him re-elected. He's a friend, even though he'd moved from SNP to Solidarity, but we knew he was going to lose his seat. And it was the same with Chris McElhenney. What people tend to forget is people don't vote for personalities, they vote for parties. Yeah. And at this point in time, The Alpha Party are just no polling.
I mean, I do remember.
And we're very, very close to an election here, and there's no polling.
I do remember the 2007 when we had that vote at that time for the Scottish election. That's when the SNP got in, and the first line was Alex Salmond for First Minister, right? But still in all, it was SNP. That's what people voted for. Simple as that. Alex Salmond, few people knew Alex Salmond at that time. He became more in your face when it got to 2012, obviously, right? But in 2007, I think we got through, and it was a minority government at the time anyway.
Well, we've got a lunatic on the stream. David McGuinness, you are on about after independence, etc. You need to forget about that, as Westminster will not allow Scotland to leave the Union. There is no way out. Give it up, and let's work for the benefit of Scotland to get the most. What?
Bring it on, boy. Bring it on.
Anyway.
They won't allow us to leave, will they? Oh, fair enough. Okay. We'll see. All right.
Get as much funding to go and beg for crumbs at the table. John, as I say, you're entitled to your opinion. Welcome on the thread. But I'll let the thread deal with you. Right, anyway, so Ash has basically committed political suicide.
Yeah.
And she's going to find it hell of a lonely in Hollywood. Because when you turn your back on your friends and your colleagues, they tend not to take it so well.
Lorraine, thank you very much. That's 99 she's put up. Self-interest instead of the good of Scotland.
Now, I'm going to go back to something that I've said here regularly. And that is that I made a video about this a couple of years ago for my truck about putting cracks in this movement. And when I made that video, it was aimed at certain people who were planning on setting up a new party. And I warned them that you put a crack in this movement, the unionists would blow it open. Well, they didn't have to. The unionists didn't need to blow it open. These people, for their egotistical reasons, blew the movement open. And we're now at a situation where, even if the Alpha Party, they start to poll and they have got a chance, then the 600 or 700 votes that they might pick up in the marginal might be enough to let a unionist through, defeating their own purpose. You know?
At the end of the day,
I made that video. I know a lot of people who were on Facebook at the time, and a big Facebook audience at the time, who've seen that video, and knew what I was talking about. But the video wasn't made for the general public. It was made for a specific number of people. You know who I'm talking about, David. I'm not going to name them here. But it was because their egos didn't have a platform to allow them to show themselves off anymore. It's been important in public life that this is what happened.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Oh dear, what a shame. Never mind. And it's like, the lassie, I hope she feels that she's giving it her all and all the rest of it, right? But to be honest with you, that's just the way it is. People vote for parties, not people when it comes to the major elections. If it's a by-election, that's a different matter, right? Comes down to personalities. But in a major election, you're talking about people who vote for parties, and that means that an individual like Ash Reagan, she'll end up losing it. Like simple as that. She might as well have stayed where she was, you know.
Well, on the bright side, what we can say is she's obviously not a career politician.
No.
You know.
Well, if she is, she's made the biggest mistake in her life. Something like that, you know.
And Junie, you're right. Alba started as a salmon vanity project.
Yeah.
Not the brightest move we ever made. It wasn't a good move for their movement either. But they're here. It's a democracy. Yeah. So they can stand and lose their 600 quid at each election when they want. Yeah. I mean, the reason why they didn't stand in Hamilton rather than West was they didn't want to let the unions through the middle. No, it wasn't. The point is they were looking at the polls and went, we're going to lose our deposit here. Yeah. And there's not that many members of that party, so they don't have a big fund to draw on. Right, let's move on. An additional new 27 new oil and gas licenses issued. That takes the total this year so far to 127 new licenses. So much for oil and gas running out there.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. It's like people on our side of the argument. I'm talking about the Yes family, right? We should be shocked at what those in Westminster, those in the UK government are doing right now, after having called us subsidy junkies, after having said, "Oh, it'll run out in 5.5 minutes." Yeah, in the run up to the 2014 referendum, that's the nonsense that we were getting. And hang on a
You
second.
can ask me who the Scottish billionaire, right? Sir Ian Woods. But you get right, don't you, David? Why do people are no angry? I don't know. It just seems to be the Scottish people take being lied to. It's just water off a duck's back.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
So there is released 100 licenses. Why would the UK government do that? He's doing that so he can actually they can dig the UK out of the financial problems that it's in. And don't forget, Scotland's an exporting nation, and we've got a lot of inward investment. So Scotland, there's very, very little wrong with Scotland at the moment. It is England. It is England that has got this massive £2.8 trillion debt, public debt that's hanging over it, right? And Rishi Sunak is hoping to take a bit of that out and put it in his own pocket from the oil and gas, right?
What's more interesting, David, is in the UK at the moment, and we're still party, we need to look at it this way. Debt to GDP is running at 101%. We're getting near Weimar Republic bloody area.
Well, if you've got a debt to GDP of 101%, that means if you take it back to your own personal thing, it's where you've got a credit card, right? The credit card's demanding a payment of £400 a month, and you've only got £395 as disposable income. That doesn't even give you money to buy food or anything like that, right?
Well, that's what happened to the Weimar Republic, and we're getting near there.
Yeah.
I mean, they could no longer service their debt, so they were absorbed into the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're going to be the UK will be absorbed into the American Empire.
There's different stages of...
The IMF's still giving them a bailout this time.
Well, yeah, there's different stages of inflation, and you can go online, you can read up on it, right? But at the moment, wow, it's looking stupid. It really is.
Apparently it's up to 2.9.
Nathan, I'll take that. It's like that. I hadn't looked at the public debt figure for a while, so I'll take you as being correct, sir.
But as you say, the oil and gas licenses is because of the amount of trouble that they've got themselves in. And the UK's credit rating is now down at AA. No AA1, no AA2, no AA plus, no AA3, AA. It's really tanking. Yeah. Which means that when Westminster wants to borrow, the interest rates on the borrowings are very high.
Yes.
So in 13 years, the Tories have taken us from a AAA plus to a AA.
Yeah.
On the international credit ratings, and that's why the UK debt is so high, because it costs them so much to bloody borrow.
Yeah, if you want to find out about the debt ratings and all the rest of it, right? Go looking at Standard and Poor's.
They're the biggest one.
Right? Yeah, the biggest one. You can look down all the different countries and see how they're stacked in terms of
creditworthiness.
The really funny thing that I find, and I really do find this hilarious, and it is hilarious, is that the US have got a massive amount of debt. Do you know who owns that debt? Who's standing on the sidelines? The Chinese.
Aye.
The Chinese that own the American debt, and you couldn't make that up, could you? You just couldn't. You know.
Well, Davies, strictly speaking, Scotland can borrow money, but it borrows it to the Treasury.
That's right.
So you're technically correct. Scotland doesn't run a deficit. It can't have a deficit by law. Right, anyway, I think we've done the oil and gas thing to death here, David, so let's move on. Lorna Slater says Indy not a red line. over.
Yeah, I saw that the other day there, and I thought, ooh, what a bad move to make. I mean, seriously, she could have answered the guy for the BBC. Did it, guys, was it? She could have answered them in so many different ways, right? But she said basically that when talking about doing a supply and demand agreement with the Labour Party, so if Sarah wanted to create the
a minority government,
Scottish government in Holyrood, would she be prepared to discuss that with us? She went, no, certainly we'll discuss it with anybody. And he said, no, let me finish. What he said, what about if he didn't want anything to do with independence? And she said, well, independence is not a red line. And I went, what? That's bad. That's very bad. And I do hope that either there's clarification or we look at this again as to whether the Greens should be part of the Scottish Government.
Yes.
However, if we sit in that situation, all of a sudden you really are in a minority government and you are in danger of the Lib Dems, Labour and Tory. Yeah, the three heads of the blooming of Satan, right? In the Scottish Parliament, right? They could join together, club their seats, and put somebody in as First Minister.
Right. Tom, Scotland wasn't given a borrowing policy through code, I don't think. But if they were, Scotland already had the ability to borrow for infrastructure, mate. But it had to be borrowed through Treasury. Right, so Lorna Slater says it's no a red line for the Green Party. The Green Party becoming the new Lib Dems here in Scotland?
Maybe. The lass has made. When you look at mistakes that the lass has made, and she has made mistakes through not reading things properly.
Not reading the room right.
I don't mean reading. I'm talking like reading a situation, right? She made a mistake by not reading the areas that they were going to have as being conservation areas for fishing. Yeah.
Aye.
Could have read that a bit better, and it could have been handled a bit better, right?
Oh,
the
deposit returns. She stood up to Jack on that.
Yeah, where Lorna Slater has fallen maybe a wee bit short of the mark, and I think Patrick Harvey needs to be having a word with. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
Aye, she should have stood up to. She should have done what the woman in the similar position to her in Wales did, and stood up to Westminster and said, "Fuck off, we're going ahead."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's what she should have done. Instead, Lorna Slater's lack of ability to stand up to Mr. Jack and take him on toe to toe has cost the Scottish public purse £86 million.
Yeah.
Although we can put it squarely at the feet of Mr. Jack, of course, he sabotaged the scheme deliberately.
Yeah.
Sparking 86 million of Scottish public money up against the wall. And also seeing the possibility of the drinks companies suing the Scottish Government for their losses, which will audit track poor public services, and Jack knows it.
Yeah. That's like, it's a bit like blaming a bank for being held up, right? You're actually blaming the manager and saying, what were you open that day for, right? Okay. When in actual fact, you should be blaming the guy with the gun and the mask that actually held them up. Yeah, something like that.
Starmer's stance in Israel will cost Labour in Scotland. Well, we're about to get onto that for you, That's the subject. Thank you, Stephen. Anyway, you get a nice wee segue into the next subject, David. That is Labour north and south of the border in turmoil on stance on Gaza.
Yep.
Starmer sticks to stance as a slab or the Labour Party in Scotland, and 12 Labour front benches go hostile.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because we've even got the situation where Anna Sauer of what they call English Labour with the word Scottish in front, right? He's gone the other way from Starmer. He's said that his war crimes are taking place, right? So I've got to give in. As far as that's concerned, I agree with that, right? But when we look at the setup of Labour, of the parliamentary Labour Party, after the Corbyn affair, they came in with, after having linked up with Israel and Labour for Israel, all the different groups.
Labour Friends for Israel,
they came up with a thing of where if you say something against the Israeli government, not Jews, the Israeli government, that is considered as anti-Semitic and will automatically lead to your expulsion. However, we now have Sawa, who has said something against the Israeli government.
Yeah.
There are other MPs down in the Commons, 12 I believe, that have also said things against the Israeli government, as in they're committing war crimes, and they haven't been expelled yet. So we'll see what happens, won't we?
Well, what's interesting about that is that Labour's Shadow Justice Secretary, Andrew Sarwar, who was forced to by the people, the Labour Party here in Scotland, to change his mind. Yep. Because he was seeing the same problems here in Scotland as Starmer's having down that road. But the Shadow Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, she writes to her constituents to tell her constituents that as far as she's concerned, Israel is guilty of the war crime of collective punishment.
Yes.
And what's interesting about that is that's the same sort of tone that Sarwar took. So I guess some of the senior members who disagree with Starmer down that road, any chance you give me an uncle? No? Okay. You can say no, you know.
I've been listening to there was certainly one retired judge from the International Criminal Court.
Uh-huh.
TV the other day that it was really interesting what he was saying. He said, look, he said we can all see where the war crimes are taking place. He said, but he said, how do you get these people into the International Criminal Court? Yeah, I mean, look at the problem they've had with Blair. Blair had an open search, an open arrest warrant against them in several countries, right?
Uh-huh.
They still don't have them. However, the more people that are signed up to the International Criminal Court, it means that those politicians that get taken through the International Criminal Court, even in their absence, right, and found against them, it means then that anybody that's signed up to the International Criminal Court worldwide
could issue a warrant for these people.
Yeah, but that means they can't go to that country.
That's right.
They can't risk going to that country.
I mean, we know there's war crimes going on anyway because Israel wouldn't issue visas to let the UN go in.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
But as I say, the Labour Party really are in turmoil over this one. And it could well be an election buster for them.
Yeah.
Because 3 million Muslims in the UK are not likely to vote for them as long as they stand by their stance.
Yeah. I mean, I've already said, my prediction is they're not even in the territory of a hung parliament.
Aye. David, I said this at Saturday, I'll say it again, political leaders in the West have misjudged the feelings of the populations on Israel's apartheid and creeping colonisation of Palestine. The political leaders here in the West have read the crowd wrangle on this one.
But the thing is, though, when you look at America, USA, right, with its big aircraft carriers and its big blooming flotillas and all the rest of it, right, it is dominating, it's projecting proxy power through both the Ukraine and Israel by providing the weapons to actually take on America's enemies, right? Then that will carry it a long, long way, especially for those governments like France, UK, all the rest of it, right, who will sign up to the American way of thinking, right?
Yeah. Right, hold on to but as I say, I mean, really, we know that apartheid in South Africa ended because of people pressure.
Yeah. Right.
Especially, I mean, Glasgow, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Thatcher stood with apartheid. This mob are doing a story with apartheid. And the very same thing that happened with Thatcher will happen with this mob. You know? People power ends apartheid.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, Stephen, by the way, I saw that this morning, bombs in Syria. David and I were discussing this before the show. In actual fact, it's America that are bombing Syria, right? And what they're doing is they're bombing the deep port that they're actually going to set up as an energy port, which is at the end of the Chinese Silk Road, where they're actually bringing in the oil and gas from Iran and Iraq and all the rest that comes straight across there. Whereas right now it's looking like Israel, their ulterior motive is that they want to set up the big energy port off of is it Haifa in Israel, and because there's 1 trillion cubic foot of gas. There's 1 trillion cubic foot of gas that has been surveyed just off the beach of Gaza.
Lebanon as well.
Yeah. So,
and Jordan.
Yeah.
And the idea is, folks, if we remember that map that Netanyahu took to the UN, the one that didn't have any Gaza on it,
yeah,
that map was about setting up a corridor to get gas straight across the Middle East and into Europe. Because as we know, some naughty person of unknown origin has blown up Nord Stream 1 and 2, so the Russian gas is not making Europe.
Well, we know it wasn't the Russians.
That's for sure. So that just leaves 2 countries that are capable of
doing UK and USA. And both the UK and the USA are capable of doing such a thing.
And who are major oil and gas producers?
UK and USA.
So who's just cornered the European market?
USA, but UK as well, because, we've got massive gas deposits as well that are being sucked out the ground.
And that's what the 27 latest licenses are about.
Yeah. There you go. Sorry, guys.
It would appear that Gaza has been wiped off the map because of
a long journey there, just over the hills and far away until you eventually go, got it, right?
Well, I mean, it would appear that Palestinian people have been wiped off the map so that they can import gas into Europe.
Yeah.
A hydrocarbon that's not going to be worth a dime in about 20 years' time.
Yeah. And
a whole people's to be massacred for it, and the land, and deprived of the land.
Just keep in mind.
You see a repeat pattern here. We had that's what Iraq was all about. Control of oil and gas.
Yeah. Libya.
That's why Donald Trump ripped up the international agreement with Iran.
Yeah. That's right. What you think about it? At the time, the agreement through the United Nations with Iran was perfect. Everybody was happy with it.
Aye, Tom, you're right. It is follow the money.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden Trump went, nah. Tear up the agreement with Iran. They're bad guys.
Gordon, you're right. Norway also stands to gain from that hypothesis, but it doesn't mean they're in on the bees.
But they do have a stealth submarine. It's possible they could have done it. Yes, you've got to look at it as if you were looking at a murder, you'd be saying who are the possible actual people that could have done it, and was it method, opportunity, and what they actually own, they were going to get out of it, right? That's always important to look at.
Karen, you're right. Palestine has vast oil and gas reserves, and we've seen them. They're already mining it, stealing it for the Golan Heights.
Yeah, it's the Golan Heights. It's the far side of the Golan Heights as it runs into Syria. That's the bit that the Israelis are looking to actually get. They want that.
But as you say, that the reason why Netanyahu stood up in the UN with that map talking about an economic corridor right across the Middle East, as it turns out, it's to fight the Silk Road, which has been opened back up, the ancient Silk Route, which is a trade route which has been opened back up by the Chinese.
Yeah.
And they're frightened of Chinese power. They're also fighting to the bricks.
Yeah.
So that's, it would appear the Palestine people may well be getting wiped off the map. What's interesting was that Hamas had got wind of what was going on.
Geopolitics, my goodness me, what a subject to even get into. So convoluted and all the rest of it, right? And the number of bad guys there are throughout the world. And you've got to figure the Chinese, even though the Chinese are behaving like the adults in the room at the moment, the Chinese have got bad sides to them as well. So don't get that one wrong. Yeah.
That's the Uyghur Muslims.
Yeah. So there you go.
Right, David, I'm going to bring this next one up and I'm going to read it. All right, folks. Well, I put it in the screen. I don't think people will be able to see it.
Just read it, David, please.
Right, okay. The next subject is destitution in the UK. Okay, so here we go, folks. Flagship study finds
tell them what destitution is for. Some of them
it's the worst form of poverty. It's when you can't afford your bills. People are considered destitute if they have not been able to meet their most basic physical needs to stay warm, dry, clean, and fed, which of course are all basic human rights. This can be because they either lack necessities like clothing, heating, shelter, or food, or because their income is so extremely low they are unable to purchase these items for themselves. Right, anyways, folks, the Joseph Roundtree Foundation released their annual destitution report recently. Last Tuesday, actually, on the day that the bankers' bonuses the cap and bankers' bonuses was scrapped, ironically. Anyway, here we go. A major new report reveals a shameful increase in the level of destitution in the UK. The number of people experiencing destitution increased by 61% from 2019 to 2022, with an even larger increase in the number of children experiencing destitution. This follows another rapid acceleration in the level of destitution from 2017 to 2019. Destitution, the most severe form of hardship, has become so widespread in part because of political choice. In other words, austerity, right? And this political choice means that they've decided to tolerate the cruelty of destitution down that road in Westminster. All right. As a general election approaches, the Joseph Roundtree Foundation is calling on all parties to make tackling destitution a priority and set out their plans to reverse this appalling rise in hardship across the UK. But as we know, neither Labour or Tory are for turning on austerity. We know that Labour said they'll stick to the Tory fiscal policies, which means destitution continues. Now, around 3.8 million people experienced destitution in 2022, a 61% increase since 2019. This includes around 1 million children. And in the amount of children who are suffering destitution, it's an increase of 88% since 2019. The number of people who experience destitution in the UK has more than doubled in the last 5 years, up from 1.55 million in 2017 to 3.8 million today. Since 2017, the number of children experiencing destitution has almost tripled, an increase of 186%. Wow. Since 2017, an increase of 186% children living in absolute the worst form of poverty. Almost 2/3 of people who experienced destitution in 2022 have a disability or chronic health problem. And that goes back to, David, when I was talking about the persecution of the disabled in this country.
Anybody that sort of remembers back to seeing disabled people getting the cars taken off them and all the rest of it, right? That was a dreadful time.
I was in St Scotland that day getting my lunch, David. I came out made a broadcast. I was angry. I was almost in tears watching the fear in these people's eyes. Anyway, the social security system is not protecting people from destitution. 72% of those destitute are in receipt of benefits.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Well, all I can see is, great. it's obviously it's been a well worked on report, right? But when you look at it, you go, okay, how do we stop that? How do we deal with that? There is only one way to deal with it, believe it or not, and that is to get Scottish independence. And then we can actually release some of Scotland's wealth, real wealth, in our direction, so that we can actually properly deal with poverty. Poverty is so deep, it really, really is. In actual fact, the majority.
In the report, when they talk about destitution, that's just the destitution part of the report, right?
Yeah.
You see the poverty section of the report, what they call abject poverty. You're talking about 10. What was it? You're talking about 10 million, so a total of 14 million people in the UK are living in absolute poverty.
But how do you actually change? Well, in actual fact, it's generational. What you have to do is you've got to increase the opportunities and life chances of people in a particular country. The only way you can do that in Scotland is through independence and releasing Scotland's wealth, and our wealth includes our people.
That's our strength. That's it, actually. Yeah. I mean, we didn't invent the modern world, and people don't feed the trolls. If unionists want to come on and talk fish, ignore them.
Just that.
In my life, a real cracker here. On 16 years. Wait a minute, 16 years of SNP failure. Is that right? That's why destitution's not that big a problem in Scotland. That's why we'll get no tuition fees. That's why we don't pay for prescriptions. That's why we've increased childcare. That's why we've a £25 uplift to keep your children out of poverty, Paul. Because let's face it, most of them in poverty are unionists because they're not very bright, so don't have good jobs.
David,
right.
Leave it.
I will do.
Okay. Right. So, fair enough.
I'm not going to vote anybody. I'm just don't feed the troll.
Yeah.
You know, if the troll wants to deal with, I'll deal with them.
Yeah. Next one is the non-entity Alex Salmon wants to borrow money to duel the A9 and the A96. What's that all about, David?
It's no he wants to. What he's doing is he's demanding. This guy who has no power, no nothing, expects anybody to listen to him.
Oh, David, sorry, mate. Paul Paisley, can you get rid of him off the feed, please? After say, yes, it is. Only a third of Scots go to uni, the rest are foreigners. Get that individual off the feed, please.
I'll try.
Yeah. Oh, there he is there. Hang on, let's see if we can just get him straight off.
I just batter him out of the YouTube altogether, mate.
Yeah. I'll do it.
Because I'm only able to temporarily block him here. If they're just going to come in and annoy the audience, then it's better just to stick them on a naughty step.
Yeah.
But I'd rather no block people. I'd rather let them days.
No, basically I've taken his message out and all the rest of it, so he's got bugger all there.
Well, apparently we're a pair of nonsense, David.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely block that one.
Yeah. And
block on YouTube, done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's try that again.
Okay.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not having that. Seriously, just not.
I've blocked him on Restream and all, mate.
Yeah.
So that's him. He's blocked in YouTube and he's blocked in Restream.
Yeah.
I'm not having somebody call me a sexual deviant. If that's the strength of the argument, wow. You know.
We're a pair of old men, for fuck's sake.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Let's get back to Mr. Salmon demands. See, this language demands. This is the problem. These people are demanding what they're no earning. A bit like spoiled children throwing their toys out the pram. I want. So what? This is a supermarket, son, and your mummy's not got enough money to pay the bill, so you're not getting.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyway, yes. As far as Mr. Salmon's concerned, he's demanding that money is borrowed to duel the A9 and the A96.
We know what the money. We know that what Mr. Yusuf's going to use the money for the bond he issues for to keep the people out of poverty and implement a well-being economy, and of course to finish constructing the National Care Service.
And to mitigate what Westminster are doing to us on a day-by-day basis.
That's right.
The rape clause, all that sort of stuff, right? So at the end of the day, it's like what's the tax, the bedroom tax, all that sort of thing. It's all crap and nonsense that's come from Westminster, and that we, as a country, are having to blooming pay hand over fist to keep people out of trouble. Don't you think that needs to come to an end, guys?
You're welcome, Marlborough. The deputy's argument was too. His intellectual capability wasn't right for this channel.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Right.
Anyway, let's not get put off, as I say. Doing the A9 and the A96 is important, and it will take time as the funds come available. But all this crap about colour roads, I ranted about this last time, David. You and I have driven these roads, the A96, the A9. There's nothing wrong with them. What we do have is a problem with people that can't bloody drive or can't afford to maintain their vehicles properly. I've said this many times.
Yeah. Anyway, it's really
it's
the A9 is special for one thing, is seeing a camper van coming the wrong way down the dual carriageway bit.
I'm looking at that, haven't we?
That puts the fear of God up there. That really does.
As I say, the thing is, the reason why Mr. Salmon's not doing himself any favours is he's not in a position to demand anything.
Yeah, that's right.
He has no power.
Yeah, he is quite literally a non-entity. You know, he might plead the thing through Ash Reagan. That's now his first MSP in Holyrood, right? But
as I say, I feel sorry for I really feel sorry for Ash Reagan. It's going to be a hell of a lonely time in Holyrood, and I don't think she'll be getting joined by anybody in 2026, especially if they're making a plebiscite election.
Yeah.
You know, but as I say, this idea that he demands, where does he get off demanding anything? To make the suggestion that maybe some of the bond money could finish these two projects wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah.
But to make demands, who does he think he is? I mean, you don't hear Davies demanding. Davies requested on Saturday that you contact your elected officials.
I demand a free ice cream for every child in Scotland. How's with that? Yeah.
Sounds like a plan, David. How much we go in the bank?
At the moment, it's I told her right back at the start.
No, we're not talking about two Davies money. We're talking about our money. You get a couple of million to spare to give everybody ice cream.
True.
Yeah, you can make demands as long as you're willing to pay for it. Exactly. And the same thing goes for Mr. Salmon.
Yeah. Right, next one is a gentleman called Elon Musk is called Hamza Yusuf, our First Minister, a racist. What do you make of that, David?
I know the clip. I know the clip that you watched, and it was by an alt-right and a really right-wing bunch of nutters who clipped a speech that the First Minister gave on ethnic minorities in public life. You know, and pointing out there's a lack of ethnic minorities at the top of Scottish institutions. That's no being anti-Scottish or anti-white or anything like that. It's just pointing out a fact. We've got a huge chunk of the population who are Asian or from out with Scotland, and none of them have risen to the top, as it seems.
Well, isn't it when we covered? Isn't it the same as when we covered that newspaper the other day there? BBC and all the rest of it, right? That the person that had been the author had been trying to make up statistics to make Scotland look bad.
Sandra, you can get an ice cream next time I see you, my friend. You won't have to identify as a teenager, I promise you.
Can I identify as a teenager, please?
You can identify whatever you want, but nobody's going to believe a bloody word here.
The idea of taking a little chunk, a little snapshot of the middle of a speech, or taking a little snapshot of how a country's doing over 2 months when in actual fact there's a full year you should be looking at, is, I don't know, it's wrong.
But we've seen the BBC do this against the Mr. Salmond, actually, when they were cutting the First Minister's questions with him and John Swinney.
Yeah. And also, if you remember, during the run-up to the 2014 referendum, when you had the BBC guy, what's his name? Oh hell, I forget his name now. He was trying to make Scotland look as if it was poorer than it was. Do you remember that? It was on about the banks or whatever, you know.
The country crap.
Yeah. And there was a big sort of press conference in London, and he was outside it talking about it and all the rest. And it was Alex Salmond that had been talking at the time. Forget the situation. I'll remember it. I'll probably write about it on my own timeline. But to do that, to actually take a little chunk of something that's said, whereas there maybe was an hour of a conversation, or even 20 minutes of a conversation, and just take a little chunk of that, where you make somebody look wrong.
We were talking about Elon Musk and things getting cut, and we've mentioned Mr. Salmond again. Now, Mr. Salmond at this point in time has no influence in Scottish public life, but let's not forget what he did do.
Yeah.
Never mind the mistakes he made, which led to the situation we're in at the moment. But let's say the one thing we can congratulate Mr. Salmond on really was waking the Scottish public up.
Yeah. Yes.
To the idea of alternatives.
And that I remember that Sunday morning when he was on the Sunday morning programme that we all used to watch, right? And he sat on the thing. He said, "Right, I'm gonna run a referendum in Scotland on independence," right? And the following week, you had David Cameron in the same seat, spluttering about, "Whoa, we'll see about that." And then the following week, he came up to actually put the Edinburgh Agreement together.
But by that time, they realised that the Edinburgh Agreement was a trap.
Yes.
Because the 1998 Scotland Act had never been ratified by any Scottish minister.
There was debates throughout the legal profession in Scotland, and in actual fact, you used to be able to get the hold of David Mundell, the MP for down the road in the Borders, right? He actually had a full list of all the arguments by all of the legal eagles, right?
Yep.
Regarding a section 30 order.
No,
right?
it wasn't nothing to do with Section 30. It was who held the power to call a referendum.
Yeah, but also it was whether a Section 30 was needed.
Aye.
Was the argument, So, and there was as many for as there was against, right? Tell you now, it's like we could have run a referendum without a Section 30 order, no problem at all.
Aye, if he hadn't signed.
And it would just have been a case of, you don't like it, take us to court. Something like that. After the we're independent, you don't like it, take us to court. Try and get us back.
But Mr. Salmond woke the people up politically. However, what direction it takes us in now, well, that depends on how the splits in this bloody movement get healed, if they can be healed in short order.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a slippery slope. And the two that he's got in the House of Commons, because they walk the floor, yet again, when it comes to a general election, people will tend to vote for party rather than individuals. They can be gone as well. Yeah, something like that.
No, they will be gone. I hear in Fife they're quite angry with Neil Henry, actually, because even though he was suspended to the party at the time, it was SNP activists that got him in. And then when he was cleared and rejoined the party, he walked to Clare.
Yeah.
So SNP activists that got him elected.
Yeah.
And they're not going to vote for him again.
Yeah. So
simple as that.
Okay. So the final one that we're going to discuss in the last 2 minutes is it was reported on the TV this morning on Sky News that Hamas are holding British passport holders in Gaza as hostages. Now, what do you say to that one, Mr. McGuinness?
I think the press are doing a mental gymnastics again. The reason why foreign nationals can't get out of Gaza is because Israel won't open up a safe corridor.
Correct.
So what we have here is a mere propaganda, a pro-Israeli propaganda being broadcast by Western media. Which brings us to, can I play this video on the way out the door?
Yeah, the whole world's fucked. Let's put up a video to actually tell the story from.
Let's get it straight from the government.
Yep.
Let's do it. Where are we?
Come on, David. I thought you had your blooming mouse button straight over the top of it.
The enshitment. When the
Let's try that again, folks, when I can get it out of the green room.
Yeah, okay, just try
I think because I pressed play it wouldn't let it out of the green room, David.
Yeah, I know. Right, okay.
So let's do it again. Here we go.
announcement. Have you been getting the feeling lately that everything is going to shit? Don't worry, you're not imagining it. Scientists have coined a new term for the era we're living through, the enshitment. When the enshitment began is unclear. Evidence suggests probably around the time agriculture was adopted, but there is now a clear consensus that it is human-caused and rapidly accelerating. Watching everything go to shit everywhere at the same time can be overwhelming. That's why we're launching a new service to help keep you up to date. Where's humanity going to shit now? In today's episode of Where's Humanity Going to Shit Now, we look at Israel and Gaza, where a bunch of angry old fuckwits are massacring civilians and children as the world watches on. Humanity has clearly gone to shit here, and that's because one of the symptoms of enshitment is the inability to hold more than one truth in the brain at the same time. In this case, 3 truths. 1. Hamas's attack on civilians in Israel is fucked and a violation of international law. 2. Israel's collective punishment of civilians in Gaza is fucked and a violation of international law. And 3. Both 1 and 2 are happening in the context of an occupation which is fucked and in violation of international law. Failure to hold these 3 truths at the same time has been linked to uncritical exposure of the brain to bullshit propaganda, of which we in the media are primary disseminators. Bullshit propaganda has of course been the cause of every major war this century, and is thus one of the pillars of the age of enshitment. The good news is, experts regard this case of enshitment as being avoidable, as demonstrated by all the people calling for an immediate end to the murder of children, and to angry old fucks who stoke conflict, and for us to uphold international law everywhere, not just where it suits us. Join us next week for another episode of Where's Humanity Going to Shit Now, where we look at the coming US election. This has been a message from your local government franchise. Good luck.
Bye, brilliant.
Look, I know it's satire, but satire is a good way of actually making a point. You know, the idea of being able to hold 3 truths together in one's head is quite possible. Of course it is, you know.
But it is. I just thought it was quite funny because when it came to the situation in Gaza, it was pretty well covered it all. Hamas broke international law. Israel was breaking international law for that long. It's so true. I knew they're committing a war crime.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was a good video. They say shouldn't make light of these situations, but sometimes you just.
Yeah, it was a particularly good piece of satire. Yes.
It was. You see, you have to go to lighten it up now and again because you seen the state I was in on Saturday because I had that list of 6,700 people.
I saw you. I watched you. Right.
And I was on the children's section, and over 1,000 of them were under 10. You know, and I just thought to yourself, where the fuck's the humanity? Where is the humanity?
Doesn't matter who it is. If you're human, then if you try and see that any other way other than it being a war crime, there's something seriously wrong with your brain. There's something seriously wrong with your head, and you need re-education.
Yes.
It's as simple as that.
You need to fight for humanity again.
Yes.
You have to realise that we are all one race, the human race.
Yeah. You know,
we better round it up at that.
Just let me have a final word, right?
Aye.
If in Westminster we had a proper government that was able to look at what was going on and deal with it in a straightforward way, they would tell America and Israel to fuck off. And see, when they get to off, they can fuck off again, and here's 10p to do it. You know what I mean? Simple as that. It's wrong. The UK government are just wrong.
Wrong-headed in this year. Now, listen, folks, thanks very much for tuning in vast numbers, actually. Before we wound up with that video there, we were sitting up at 240. Yeah. 240 is a great live audience. Yeah. And we hope you found it entertaining. We hope you found it informative. We hope you enjoyed the trolls. We thank you very much for your contributions to the food bank fund. And as I say, the minute we hit the 200 point again, we'll get out to another food bank. So that's just if you're on YouTube and you haven't been ways before, please hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit the like button on YouTube, folks. It helps the algorithm. And please, no matter where you're watching, Facebook or YouTube, please share this across your social media platforms if you think it's worthy of sharing. Okay. I just leaves one thing left today, David.
Bye-bye, guys. Bye, Davey.
Bye, Davey. Bye, folks.